Any questions from the brothers and sisters online? We'll try to take them now, inshallah. Yeah, question? We going to, yeah. If you have a question, and if not,
Yeah.
that's what this is.
What is wazifa?
Sit down.
You know that.
Have a seat. Fadal. إذا كان عندك شيء I'll answer your question if you can answer mine. The Caspian Sea. What countries surround and border the Caspian Sea?
Countries, Caspian Sea.
Ish? Yeah, because I know he ain't got the answer.
What's the ruling on not seeking the ruqya when one in dire need of it, or just in need of it?
What's the ruling on not doing the ruqya when a person is in dire need of it? Okay, so from one aspect, not seeking the ruqya, or not seeking it or not getting it? Which are the two? Okay, so there are two different rulings. I need the ruqya, but I'm not seeking it, versus I need the ruqya and I'm not refusing it, but I'm not seeking it. So is there a text that states that it's obligatory for one to seek the ruqya? Can a person submit to, alaykum salam wa rahmatullah, one state, what Allah has decreed upon him or her? Also, very important, and it's the last thing that I'll say concerning this answer, I've dealt with this with countless brothers and sisters. They're tricked and they're fooled by the waswas. The waswas gets them to think and feel that if they seek the ruqya, they're going to be excluded from the people that will go to Jannah without reckoning, without punishment. It'll be disliked. It'll be included in asking humans, begging people, asking other than Allah, etc., etc. And the person is in severe need of it. So that's a trick of the waswas. Wallahu ta'ala alam.
Okay. Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan,
You Googled the answer?
Iran.
Next question.
Yeah.
Bronx, New York. Is the Diwan of Imam Shafi'i authentic?
Is the Diwan of Imam Shafi'i authentic? Allah knows best. Many people attribute it to him. Others may have problems or issues with it being traced back to him. Allah knows best. One thing is for sure is that there are many, many lines of wisdom in the Diwan. We can agree on that. Wallahu ta'ala alam.
Bronx, New York. Can learning Arabic become an ibadah if you intend while learning it to help you understand the deen?
Can learning Arabic be worship if you have the intention on using Arabic to learn the deen without any question? Wallahu alam. And that should show us the sad state of affairs of the Muslims today, of us today, in which people think and feel of two different extremes. One extreme is that any and everything Arabic is automatically Islamic and pious and righteous, and all right. And then the other extreme are those Muslim and non-Muslim who wish to make a total segregation of Islam and Arabic. That's an extreme. That's a total extreme. This has nothing to do with no religion. This is just Arabic. That's extreme. All right, there's balance. Not everything and anything pertaining to Arabic is Islamic, but at the same time, wallahu alam.
What's the accuracy of the statement, the slave girl has the same aura as the man, as opposed to the free woman whose aura is everything except her face in the Allah?
What's the accuracy of the statement that a slave girl has the same aura as a man in the salah? Allahu kana, right? The person asking this question, do you have a slave? Do you have a slave girl? Do you know of one that you're in charge of and responsible for and her aura in the prayer? Or is it a totally hypothetical question? Wallahu ta'ala alam.
And so, as for us, is being Ash'ari permissible?
Is being an Ash'ari permissible? I would say a Muslim is obliged to believe in everything in the Kitab and Sunnah as it was sent down in the Kitab and Sunnah. Period. So if you have learnt that being an Ash'ari is wrong and it's incorrect and it is unorthodox and there are issues and problems in theory and practice, etc., you have the answer. You've answered yourself. Wallahu ta'ala alam.
Okay, two questions. Salam alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum salam.
What is wazifa, and also, are there any hadiths that talk about brothers coming together, you know, chanting or zikkering all at the same time, you know, claiming his praise to Allah Azza wa Jalla?
So at the end of the day, a wazifa, and Allah knows best, it probably comes from the word wazifa. And a wazifa is basically like a task or a job, something to do, a mission that you're on. As far as how it applies or what it means Islamically, then many scholars wadha'if with regards to certain acts of worship, certain dhikr in certain times, certain virtuous places, etc. Like the previous question, is it impermissible to be Ash'ari? If you know of something that's from Kitab and Sunnah, you do it and you take it, regardless of the name or title. If something isn't from the Kitab and Sunnah, or it has elements of Kitab and Sunnah, but there are other elements which you yourself acknowledge and know are wrong and are incorrect, then you have the answer to your question. No, it's of course it's not permissible. It's unlawful, right? Okay, so people coming together, are there hadiths, people come together making dhikr, so on, it depends on what you mean. Based off of what's in Kitab and Sunnah. The Prophet ﷺ said this with the Sahaba, they said Ameen. No discussion. The Messenger of Allah ﷺ raised his hands and Sahaba, no discussion. The Prophet ﷺ did not do this. He did not say this. He did not raise his hand even though he could have. He did not gather them together and he did not say it all at the same time. Then you have your answer. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Khair inshallah. If there are no other questions from the brothers or the sisters here, fadal.
When you say you marry, you have a second zawj or a third, and you marry her with children, are they, seeing that they're married, they become your children? Are they entitled to the inheritance?
Question is regarding a man who marries a wife, a woman. She becomes his wife. Whether that's a second wife, third, or fourth. She has children. Do those children become your children concerning the laws of inheritance? Tayyib. The brief answer is no. They are not your children from your loins. With regards to the specific rules of inheritance, as if your daughter or son that's from your loins. Rather, there are people that are related to you biologically which wouldn't get inheritance, such as al-akhu shaqiq. Okay? No. Full brother versus half brother. And from what side does the brother or sister, etc., come from? This is my brother from my father, from another mother. Him and mom got divorced, he remarried. Or my wife had another wife. My father had a second or third or fourth wife, and he had sons. So those brothers that come from the father's loins, even though it's not from your mother, they're stronger and dominant than a brother that came from your mother remarrying. So if that's the case with a brother or sister, biological half, then what will be the case of a daughter or son which has no biological ties to you? So the rules are not the same concerning the laws of inheritance. Can they be put in a will? Different discussion. Can something be left for them? That's what? Different discussion. Wallahu ta'ala alam.
What advice would you give to a mom trying to memorize or struggling with mommy brain?
A woman struggling with mommy brain. What advice would I give to her? She's trying to memorize. When your brain is good and strong, you memorize. When your brain is in mommy mode, quote unquote, you take it easy. Read, listen to something, benefit from something else. That's first and foremost. It's like anything else. I have a disability with my arm. I can't write. So when my arm is hurting, I can't write. And when it's okay, that's when I write. It's simple. I have a problem with memory loss, so I write everything down. Allah gave you a situation, a scenario, you have to handle it and manage it properly. It's that simple, literally. That's first and foremost. Number two is that you have to make a lot of dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because you don't know what is the extent of the potential that you have until you push it and until you make as much dua and exert yourself as much as you possibly can. So you don't know how far you can or cannot go until you push it to the limit. So you have to make dua to Allah to remove that mommy brain, to help you with the mommy brain, to increase and enhance your memory. And also you have to exert yourself and push yourself and not lean and relax upon that reason or that excuse. We've explained this, how to memorize, what are the techniques of memory and memorization, and many lectures and classes, even for women. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Wayakum, online Quran classes, not off the top of my head. I'm so sorry. But there are many. But I don't have one on the top of my head that I can recommend and tell you right now. Wallahu alam.
Have the scholars explained or given an Islamic term to the concept or feeling of nostalgia? Is it a disease of the heart or can it be good?
Nostalgia. Have the scholars spoken about nostalgia? Is it a disease of the heart? Can it be good? So on and so forth. Yes and no. Of course, the past is mentioned in abundance in the Quran. And reflecting upon the past, thinking about the past, praising Allah for the blessings of the past and the good days of the past. Inna Allah la yughayyiru, Allah doesn't change the state of a people until they change the state of themselves. Many people understand that you have to work for yourself for Allah to help you. Versus Allah gave you blessings in the past. Allah doesn't take those blessings away from you until you become ungrateful and forgetful. So there's a great deal of talking about the past, nostalgia. All right? That's first and foremost. The way of the Salaf as-Salih. A big part of that is what? Nostalgia. The purest time of Islam, when the Muslims were strong and pure. The three blessed generations, the best of all generations, the best of all men, is the generation in which I live. And then those who come after, and then those who come after. Thumma, then will come a people who will bear witness without being asked. Make promises without fulfilling them. Who will be obese, etc., etc., etc. So the concepts, yes, Jazakallah khairan, of nostalgia, of thinking about the past, benefiting, glorifying the glorious past, there's no doubt about that. And as well, Islam teaches us to live in the current and to live in the present moment and to seek Allah's refuge from grief and from fear. Anxiety of the future, grief of the past. So balance, moderation. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Next question. It's New York. Specific, inshallah. Jazakallah khairan. Faddal, Brian.
Okay, so you hear a lot of things coming into the game and everything like that, right? And growing up, I heard that there was, hadiths that mention if you see something outside amongst the opposite sex, or whatever the case may be, that was attractive, that you found attractive, or whatever the case may be, and you can, have a healthy outlet of like a wife or whatever.
Clear.
Is there any type of hadith like that?
Get to the point, Brian.
Yeah, is there a hadith that mentions that if you outside and you outside for
There lies no doubt.
yeah,
There's several authentic hadiths.
right,
Is that if a woman passes you by
yeah,
and it's some type of temptation or a thought,
yeah,
then go to your wife.
Allahu Akbar.
Because your wife has what she has.
Okay, Allahu, yeah,
So the concept of healthy outlet,
Yeah,
clear, like nostalgia. The concept of fighting fire with fire,
yeah.
clear.
Alhamdulillah.
And the concept of realizing and accepting the reality of your weakness. And one of the greatest tricks of the shaitan is for you to think of yourself in a light of strength that you actually don't have. You know, I don't need to be married. Women aren't no thing. Oh, she's a kafir. Oh, she's dirty. Oh, okay, tell you. Sure.
Yeah, whatever.
Sounds great. Shaitan is saying to himself, I'll see you later tonight.
No doubt. Yeah.
Before or after Maghrib. Me and you will, don't worry. Versus a person acknowledging, I am weak. And the opposite sex, women are a fitna, are a temptation. No doubt about that. Let me lower my gaze, let me stay away, let me get married, let me fast, let me try to fear Allah, let me be point A to point B. Let me stay out of this mall or this shop and let me, agenda, in and out. Wahakadha, right? Wallahu ta'ala alam. May Allah bless you. Faddal.
What is the financial obligation for a man to his ex-wife with one son?
Financial obligation of a man concerning his ex-wife who gave him a son, or they have a son together. They have to come together. They have to come on terms which are known, ma'ruf, and respectable and fair for both parties. But the lion's share is for the son, meaning of consideration. The money shouldn't be for the ex-wife, it should be for the son. But obviously she's going to handle it. It's going to go through her. It's just no way you're going to deal with the yoke without, you get what I'm trying to say? So therefore, the woman, if the child lives with the woman, that's one scenario. If the child lives with the father, that's another scenario. If the time is split between them, that's a third scenario. Bil ma'ruf, and that which is known. The money that you're asking for monthly is way too much for this 2-year-old boy. The money that you're asking for based off of what you know I make and how much you make is what? Way too much. The money that I'm going to give you with the money that you know that I have and the standards by which I live is way too whack at that. So it has to be based off of what's culturally accepted but fair. All right? And that money is going to be for the child's benefit. If the woman is breastfeeding the child, that's a scenario. If the child is weaned, that's a different scenario. Wallahu ta'ala alam. However, let the fear of Allah be the guiding principle. I'm not going to spitefully do this. I'm not going to spitefully do that. And many people, ex-wives, ex-husbands, they only think about spite when it's convenient. You're doing this out of spite. And what you did all of this time wasn't. Okay? It only is bad and haram when you feel the sting of it. Right? So don't do to others what you what? And of course, many people, they go along and they say, well, the kuffar system, and you don't live in the kuffar system? In tax return, that's not a kuffar system? Money back on the credit or debit card, that's not what? Kuffar system? Your 401k, your retirement, that's not a what? Kuffar system? If you get a ticket and you fight the ticket in court and you don't have to pay, that's not a what? So many people, they pick and choose what's kuffar system and what's, unfortunately. So don't be spiteful. Don't try to hurt someone through the child. And most importantly, all right, you hate your ex-wife, no problem. You hate your ex-husband, no problem. He's the scum of the earth, no problem. He used to be the best thing since halal bacon, huh? On a cheeseburger, all right? Pickles, all right? On a sandwich. They used to be the best thing. Now they're the shaitan himself is my ex-husband, my ex-wife. No problem, that's cool. But just think about the damage that you're doing to your child. That's scary. They got to grow up messed up and damaged because of your personal beef and vendetta. It's rough.
How young should you start bringing your children to the masjid?
How young should your children be when they come? As soon as they're born. Let them become acknowledged with the house of Allah as soon as they can. From infant, baby, toddler, etc. This is your second home, son. This is your first home, the house of Allah.
They should see
Traveling.
What about traveling?
Abroad, masjid abroad,
What about them?
with the baby.
Wherever you travel, if the baby's with you, you go pray.
HLCB, Brooklyn, East New York. What are some good deeds that lead to an increase of risk?
Good deeds that lead to an increase of risk. Being benevolent to your parents. Being kind to your family members. فَلْيَصِلْ رَحِمَهُ, the Prophet ﷺ says. No doubt about that. So you being kind to your relatives, respectful and obedient to your parents. Charity, sadaqah. There's no doubt about that. And also leaving off the haram for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah gives you that which is better. Whether it's more or whether it's more wholesomeness in what you have. Wallahu ta'ala alam.
For the ghusl on Friday, is it sufficient to shower without wetting the hair or head, or must water touch every part of your body like the ghusl for janazah?
If you make a ghusl on Jumu'ah, your whole body should be wet from head to toe. Wallahu ta'ala alam.
Initial and Alexandria, Virginia. Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh. Did Ibn Taymiyyah and Ibn al-Qayyim hold fana and nar as I saw the regarding the Sukkah?
Wa yakum. No questions about personalities in the Q&A, inshallah. As far as the ruling of fana or nari, does the hellfire go away? Then there are some scholars who hold the view that Ibn Taymiyyah and Ibn al-Qayyim held that view. Some scholars attribute that statement to them. Some scholars wrote books on the subject, refuting them, saying that they held the view that the hellfire, the kuffar will be punished for their deeds, and then they will cease to exist, and the hellfire is not perpetual. Only Jannah is perpetual. And there are other scholars who say kalla, who say nay. Neither Shaykh Islam Ibn Taymiyyah ever said that. But they discussed the issue. They brought up hypothetical, theoretical arguments for other people, but they themselves never adopted that view. Wallahu ta'ala alam.
Are the irrefutable teachers still living that trace back to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam?
Are there reputable teachers still living who trace back to the Prophet ﷺ? Without a question.
Initial MY Toronto, Ontario. So do we divide inheritance evenly throughout all kids?
Do we divide inheritance equally to our children? No. As we said, the details, and some of those details will come in the book. But if you want the full explanation, full detailed explanation from us, because there are many other sources, please go back to HadithDiscipleshop.com and you can find, I believe it's at least 3-part intensive workshop on the rulings of inheritance, such as a boy and a girl. In general, the general rule, because there are times in which it may fluctuate, a boy receives double than that which a girl receives. And there are many wisdoms behind that. Wallahu alam.
What's done with the will that after the dividing up, that what you put in your will is not left? Like you left a sum of money in your will for so and so person, but after the inheritance thing got divided up, that there's no longer that left.
هذا مبني على مسألة يعني التركة، تركة الميت، المال الذي يتركه الميت، يعني أي نوع من أنواع ماله يقدم. تقدم الوصية، تقدم الميراث، تجهيز، غسله، كفنه، دفنه، على حسب المذهب. هذا مبني على مسألة خلافية. منهم من يقول تدوم، كلمة تدوم، تجهيز، تاء، دال، دين، واو، وصية، ميم، ميراث. فعلى هذا القول يكون الميراث آخر الشيء في التركة. فإذا ما بقي شيء بعد التجهيز والدين والوصية ما على حسب. والله تعالى أعلم. تفضل.
What rights does your neighbors have over you?
What rights do your neighbors have over you? It depends on who those neighbors are. I can't just answer a general question, Brian.
General is a big question.
Muslim neighbors, Jewish neighbors, Zionist neighbors, I don't know.
Non-Muslim neighbors, but for instance, I live
Don't park in their parking spot. Don't block their driveway. Don't lust and stare at your neighbor's wife, her front side or back side, right? Don't allow your cat to go to the bathroom in front of their house. You get what I'm trying to say? Things that many people do. Don't have loud things playing, disturbing your neighbors. Don't have smoke. Whatever harm or annoyance, keep it away from your what? From your neighbor. That's the general point I'm trying to get to. And many people, they look down on these things. They look at these things as small things, but those are big things, right? So annoying your neighbor, harming your neighbor, all right, that's haram. I know that's a big, big problem, and it could be a major sin, all right? Rather, many say it, la yu'min, okay? That's first and foremost. Obviously, you should try to be kind to your neighbor, just. And the greatest kindness is giving da'wah to your neighbor. And of course, we live in a time in which we become very silent and we've become very lax, very complacent when it comes to da'wah. We don't actively give da'wah. We don't call people to Islam verbally. Not physically, you look good, no, verbally. I'm officially telling you, come and be a Muslim. No, thank you, that's not my, all right, no problem, but you make the effort. Most of us don't, unfortunately. And if we don't make the verbal engaging of our non-Muslim neighbors, and that's a problem in itself. Why do we have so many non-Muslim neighbors? How do the Orthodox Jews live in New York City, in Brooklyn? Who's their neighbors? How do they live in Brooklyn? But we live scattered. This neighbor's a Hindu, this one's a Sikh, this one's a 5%er, this one's an atheist, this one's a evangelical, Episcopal, Baptist. It's very unfortunate. So we have problems from the leadership all the way on down and all the way up, Allahumma musta'an, starting with myself, okay? At the end of the day, what is the ruling on having non-Muslim neighbors? For argument's sake, you do have non-Muslim neighbors and you don't verbally call them to Islam, then you should at least physically show them what Islam is. And the non-Muslim neighbors should be able to say certain things about Islam. I know Muslims are clean, Muslims are neat, I know Muslims are gentlemen. I saw him hold the door for his wife. I know Muslims are about family. They have kids. They have babies. I know Muslims don't smoke, don't drink. How do you know that? Did you read that in the Holy Quran? I never read the Holy Quran, but I never smelled Brother Brian smelling like skunk, huh? Okay? Or with a Hennessy bottle on his porch. Inshallah.
Definitely not.
Wallahu alam. Patience and gratefulness and ways to achieve them. Ibn al-Qayyim has a great book on the subject, on patience and gratitude. The book is available in Arabic, available in English, I'm sure available in other languages, and there's summarized versions of the book as well that are available with regards to patience and gratitude. Wallahu ta'ala alam. We'll stop here tonight. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa barak ala abdi wa rasulihi nabina wa imamina Muhammad.